A lot of Gates of Hell news coming to you today with a little bit more information about the Commonwealth DLC's content, as well as a rough release window, but we also have not one, but technically two other DLCs to talk about. Let's dive in. Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. With the 10-year anniversary of Barbed Wire Studios, the developers behind Gates of Hell, being this month, they have prepped two smaller DLCs for you, of which one is free. This as a thank you to the community for their support over the years, and hopefully many years to come. And of course, also for me, happy anniversary, Barbed Wire. We'll go over the info for those two smaller DLCs first, and then go over the new information for the Commonwealth DLC. There are actually a few surprises in there. Now, what vehicles for the Commonwealth would you really like to see represented in-game? Let me know down in the comments. The Jubilee DLC, as it's called, will contain Easter eggs, nostalgic assets, and locations as a sort of trip down memory lane of previous Gem Engine games. The DLC will come with 3 single-player missions for the USSR and Germany. There's also going to be 5 multiplayer maps for 1v1s, 2v2s, and 3v3s. And these are all based on locations that should be similar for players of those older Gem Engine games as well. Furthermore, there are a few new units being added, including some naval assets, which is always a nice bonus. Some of the pictures really remind me of Men of War Red Tide, but hopefully the missions in Gates of Hell won't be as hard as some of the missions in that game, because they were pretty brutal sometimes. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the Sherman tank from Kelly's Hero, so I haven't seen a movie in probably like 15 years, is shown in the artwork and in a screenshot here. Whether this is just a fun little skin for the Sherman, or if there's actually a bit more to it, is of course yet to be seen. I do hope that the speaker on the side can actually blast some music, perhaps some Ride of the Valkyries? The German Krupp-Protze, which is likely the KFZ-70 transporter variant, has been added, it seems, based on these pictures. It's always nice to just have some more variety within the game, especially if a larger number of those vehicles were made. For example, here with the Protze, it was roughly 7,000, so definitely a vehicle always nice to see in Gates of Hell. The main thing I feel when looking at these pictures, though, is that under normal gameplay rules or the normal gameplay settings, you usually can't get this close to the action, sadly. Perhaps one day we'll get that camera unlocker function, a button or maybe in the settings somewhere, allowing you to swap on the fly between those more cinematic camera angles and the regular camera angles that you use most of the time playing Gates of Hell. Now, talking about buttons, I'm still hoping to get that reverse key. It would really lower the amount of micro needed, so developers, please. This free DLC will actually release in just a few days at most, it seems. Always nice to get some extra content, especially some more rare stuff, such as the Soviet gunboat, together with more missions to check out, and all of this for free, of course. Now, the Supporter Pack DLC will be a paid release, but there will not be any actual in-game content such as vehicles, maps, or missions or anything like that in there. This DLC is purely if you want to support the developers specifically while receiving a few extra goodies that some of the biggest fans could be interested in. This will come with a badge in-game as well as some unique player profile customization, their official Gates of Hell art guide, together with an interesting Windows theme that gives you the icons, cursors, and such of Gates of Hell. That last one kind of reminds me of stuff that you'd have seen in like the early 2000s in a way, and maybe some of you who want to see the Gates of Hell UI when doing work on your computer or whatever really could of course be interested in that last one. Finally, it includes a 15-minute documentary called Gates of Hell: The First Decade, showing how the game came to be from the 2015 conception to the release in 2021 and beyond, as well as having some team member stories and such. Of course, this is a very optional DLC, just for those die-hard fans who eat, sleep, and dream Gates of Hell, or just for you if you simply want to financially support the developers a little bit more while receiving a bit of public recognition for doing so. Now finally, the Commonwealth DLC is planned to be released at the end of this year, called Finest Hour, after one of Churchill's famous speeches. I guess Gates of Hell, We Shall Fight on the Beaches might have been too long of a subtitle for this DLC. So I mentioned surprises earlier. Well, I personally did not expect to read that besides British, Scottish, and Canadian forces, which I think most of us kind of expected to be in this DLC, the Polish will be represented as well. Now, whether this is going to be just the Polish Airborne during Market Garden, or for example, the Polish 1st Armored who took part in the Normandy Breakout, or both, or something completely different, that is of course not known as of this time. With 16 new single player maps, as well as 20 multiplayer and conquest maps, there appears to be a lot of content to be looking forward to, especially for me anyway, seeing as assets that would fit the Netherlands and Flanders are going to be added with this DLC. I am fully expecting a few Market Garden missions, and I cannot wait to see Arnhem and its surroundings hopefully recreated just as awesomely as the developers did with Nijmegen in the Airborne DLC. But of course, the 30th Corps drive up from Belgium along Hell's Highway could also make for a couple of very interesting missions, so a lot of potential. With 100 plus pieces of equipment for the Commonwealth, which I believe refers to helmets, weapons, grenades, basically anything the soldier can have in his inventory, as well as more than 500 new human models, it's looking to be an addition that might match the Liberation DLC in terms of pure content, especially considering that they are adding over 170 vehicles for the Commonwealth and Germany combined with the Finest Hour DLC. Now, all of the nations within this DLC will also speak in their native tongue, especially cool, meaning that they're going to have the Polish actually speak Polish. And that's something that is just so unique because that's not something a lot of games will do. The Conquest mode is not forgotten. As I said, with 20 new maps, the Commonwealth will also be available in Conquest in early, mid, and late war. This is to me super exciting, and I do hope that we get some 1940 scenarios or missions shipped with the DLC as well. As it specifically says, the DLC covers the Commonwealth's actions in Western Europe from 1940 to 1945, so an early mission trying to hold Dunkirk could definitely be in there. But yeah, for you Conquest lovers, a lot of content it seems to be coming up. So 170 vehicles is a buttload of new content, and it's cool that the Germans will also be getting a little bit of love too. Now, anything you are specifically looking forward to seeing from the Germans that would fit the Western Front from 1940 to 45 that we haven't seen yet so far, let me know down in the comments that you think could be one of those new vehicles. With that said, we've reached the end of our news for now. Finest Hour appears to be set to release in late of this year in 2025, which coincides with when Liberation was released about 2 years ago. Logically, they'd want to release it near the Christmas or winter sale, as of course that brings more eyes to the game in general, so I think there's about 5-ish months left to wait before it gets released. Whenever there is more Finest Hour news or anything cool related to Gates of Hell, I will of course be back with another video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.